Hello, hello, what's up, guys? My name is Elise Beckles, founder of the French Tutor, and I'm pretty sure you're watching this video either out of curiosity or because you are indeed a parent or guardian of a student who is either in French immersion or in full French school and needing a little bit more help specifically in the area for reading comprehension. So here it is, guys. Here's your training on what it takes, what we know it takes for your child to thrive in the French learning program, okay? So here's what's going to happen. Who is this for? Who is this for? And if this is not you, feel free to disconnect from this video, but who is this for? So this is if you're a parent of a student in the French immersion or the full French program and you have a child that's struggling, okay, in a particular area. This is also if you want your child to be fluently bilingual, all right? Thirdly, it's for those who want help from an expert team that actually cares about your child's success. 4, if you're prepared to give your child the best opportunity or opportunities, that's who this training is for. And finally, if you're looking to have your child excel in French reading. So here's what you're going to learn. Our first goal for this training is that you're going to learn how to quickly get your child in the right mindset to want to learn French. Does that sound familiar? Okay. 2, you're going to learn how you indeed master practical vocabulary and spelling with pronunciation. Third goal in this training is that you're going to recognize and know the importance of recognizing key phonetic sounds. And fourthly, reading and listening for fluency, why that actually matters. So talk to me, talk back to me. Is your child experiencing any of these problems? Are they having difficulty with French reading and comprehension? Do they understand the basics, but kind of having a little trouble with more of the complex concepts? How about their ability to keep up in class? How's that going? Do they feel sometimes anxious and discouraged? Or are they lacking as you as a parent observing they're lacking the confidence in the language that you either observe in others, even if it's your other kids, their other classmates? Is the confidence just not really where it needs to be? If so, listen up. So why should you listen to me? Who is this person speaking to you? So my name's Elise, as I said, okay? My name's Elise Beckles, and I'm the founder here at the French Tutor. And how exactly do I know this? So I myself, guys, I have 15 plus years of tutoring experience, and the main specialty is the Canadian French Immersion Program, all right? You'll be happy to know that the French Tutor is also partnered with the University of Toronto for the last couple of years, and we have a wonderful partnership and work with a lot of the French students from that university as well. Fun fact, I was also a French immersion student from senior kindergarten all the way up to university. I have one of my degrees in French, and I also had parents who did not speak French. So maybe that's you. But I grew up probably in your children's position, having gone through the journey. So everything we do, all of our curriculums, all of our teachings and trainings are done from that lens and with that knowledge in mind. We got a passionate team of dedicated and expert tutors. And finally, I'm the creator of the TFT Major Keys of Reading method. So why do these problems exist? Okay, why is your child struggling in French? Well, I'll go ahead and tell you that it has a lot to do with the old school way. And I know the old school. I'm from the old school. We went to school in the late 80s and learned French, and it was a pretty traditional format that was done. And also a very sink or swim method, right? Either you got it or you didn't. Thank God I got it. But it was also a little bit of a challenging journey along the way. The old school way and keeping things as they were previously may not make sense for today's generation and today's learners in terms of how their minds receive things, process things, want to output things. So I'm going to teach you a little bit more about that, all right? Problem number 1, one-on-one lessons. I love analogies. I love illustrations. I love to dream in color. And one of the things I'll say about one-on-one tutoring is that it has its place. One-on-one tutoring has its place, but when it comes to addressing a common, right, a common and really targeted area in French learning, it can feel similar to our friend here climbing this mountain all alone. Okay, so what we really want to promote is that the teamwork behind it, learning with other like-minded individuals who more than likely as well have parents who don't speak the language at home, knowing that they're immersed in something, the journey is more enjoyable, there's more progress made, and there is a boost, like a self-boost that happens when you're doing something with others, working towards a common goal, as opposed to that one-man trek, one-woman trek, where you feel all alone and can be more easily discouraged. Problem number 2. It's a hot take, I know, but relying on the school teacher. So I'm a huge fan, obviously, we're a huge fan of our education system, but we do know teachers now more than ever are having to deal with so much, including, working with tons of students, usually over 20 students in classrooms. And the truth is, they're not going to be able to give your child that focus, that undivided attention that they deserve. No fault of theirs, but if you as a parent or guardian are relying on the school teacher to bring them along a journey or remediate or to magically solve the different challenges they're having in French, that is not going to happen. So relying on the teacher is a massive problem that we've encountered on our journey. Problem 3, in person and face to face. So I always get pushback on this. I do, and I get it as well, because it's a newer concept for a lot of people. And I always tell them as well. So I was in university over 10 years ago, finished school over 10 years ago, maybe close to 15. And here's the thing. When I was doing my degrees, I also had some online courses. So it isn't really this new idea, but I think now parents are becoming more open-minded to the power and the impact of virtual tutoring. I'll say this as well. Virtual tutoring, for me, it's all about access. So we work with students from all across Canada, and you'd be surprised, depending which province you live in, depending which even city within a province you live in, the resources are really few and far between. So it would just be so heartbreaking if we weren't giving our kids access to something that can be accessed digitally, which is the way of the future, because of our fear or just our lack of surety with the virtual option. So only looking for in-person and face-to-face has been a major setback for a lot of families that we work with until they join us. So here's the new way. I spoke about the old way, all right? So the new way has everything to do with what I call the winning trifecta. The new way is this winning trifecta, and it's straightforward. It's straightforward and comprised of 3 parts, 3 equal parts, I'll say as well. They include habits, environment, and strategy. So habits. You are what you repeatedly do. Have you heard that before? It's one of my favorite quotes, right? Therefore, excellence is a habit, right, that you develop. But habits, guys, it's what you repeatedly do. What you repeatedly do, what you consistently work towards becomes a habit. If you're trying to be a health person, if you're trying to get back in the gym, if you're trying to learn a new skill, the habits are what lock you in, right, to a certain path to get to that goal. Secondly, environment. So environment, huge, huge, huge. When you're looking to do something, when you're looking to get somewhere, you got to be in the right spaces. You got to be around the right people. You got to be with people who are rooting for you, get the journey you're on, can give you tips and maybe get the angle and perspective that you approach something with. And that's huge. Environment. Finally, strategy. You can have the right habits, have the right environment, but if you don't got a plan and the strategy, then all of this is going to be in vain. So, having the right habits, the right strategy, and the right environment is what we know are the three main ingredients when it comes to your child succeeding in the French language. So, how do we unlock that? Get ready for the major keys, guys. So, firstly, mindset. Mindset is so huge to me. I I don't think if mindset wasn't a key training, a key element of what we do, that anything else that follows would be effective. Why? Because mindset has everything to do with the willpower. It has everything to do with the confidence building, with that can do spirit and attitude, especially when you're doing something that isn't exactly easy. I would not call learning French an easy thing to do. So the mindset you have in approaching it does matter. And in our world, that looks like having the questions or questions answered of why learning French is beneficial to me, right? Or to your little ones, or to you if you're learning as an adult learner, and confidence building. So I always tell my students, you cannot get worse at whatever you practice. Whatever you practice, you cannot become worse at. So the confidence building has everything to do with, you know what? I'm not perfect. I'm actually maybe not even getting it on the first try, but let me keep practicing. Let me keep trying because whoever is confident, I would say is king and queen, okay? Confidence and confidence is king and queen for sure. All right, so vocabulary, okay? Vocabulary learning, it's huge. So think about this glass jar, all right? Think about this glass jar, and when a lot of vocabulary learning is going on, very often we're filling it with sand. Imagine sand being the main consistency here, right? So this is teaching children, teaching learners big concepts, just putting that sand in. But when it comes to the foundations, when it comes to putting the rocks inside, there's no more space for the rocks because the sand is taking up all the space. So we are big on putting the rocks in the jar, and that has to do with vocabulary. So when we talk about vocabulary, I am big on practical. There is no point in being a grade 3 student, for example, and having memorized this important speech when you don't know how to chit chat, when you don't know how to tell me how your weekend was, when you don't know maybe how to describe to me a short story or maybe an activity or an event you're looking forward to. So we are big on learning everyday vocabulary in a practical and digestible way because true fluency happens in the small talk. True fluency is when you can come into a class and I say, how was your day? And you can tell me how the day went. So that's the vocabulary building, and that's really at the core of how that gets to a deeper comprehension in the language. Phonics. If I had to pick a favorite, don't tell anyone, it may be phonics. So mindset, of course, that's just almost like a higher arching, mission and vision we have in everything that we do. But phonics, guys, is huge. So phonics and where we come from also comes from a science of reading perspective. So knowing that us as humans, we can't always remember when we learn a word and it's the full word in completion, right? It processes and you can digest it a lot differently when you can break that word into small pieces. So if you're learning a word, okay, fun fact, the English language, 80% of words have more than one syllable. in it, okay? So when you're thinking about the word, you're learning it in syllables essentially. And that also applies for French. So learning how to identify the key phonetic sound combinations from the most basic to the more advanced structures is key because yes, your phonetic learning helps with your reading, okay? But it also helps with your speaking. And I always say that nothing in French exists on its own. So when we're looking at reading comprehension, we're also looking at speaking. We're looking at writing. We're looking at developing listening. We're looking at developing the other areas that we know contribute to a fluency level that is really, really operating at its highest level. Reading and listening. Reading and listening. So it does go hand in hand, all right? So reading is key. It's a key part of our programming because reading essentially in any language, I'll just say, should be done for comprehension. Okay, how many of you have had children before who, let's say their assignment is to read something or even read it aloud to you, and their first thing is to be like, oh, mom or dad, I'm finished. Or if you're at school, madame, monsieur, j'ai fini, I'm finished. But then you ask them, okay, well, what did you just read? And what do you get most times? Deer in the headlights, right? Deer in the headlights, guys, is how I refer to your child just staring back at you blankly because they don't exactly know what they just read. So the key for reading is for comprehension, okay? We do a lot of group read alouds, okay? Silent reading, and the comprehension piece specifically is multi-layered. So yes, reading, yes, stop and go, yes, a lot of compare and contrast, okay? But we also want to make sure that they are able to watch something. Let's say they have a Netflix show they like, or a French movie, or they have a song that they want to listen to or that we assign to them. They gotta know what's happening and comprehend all of those multi-sensory messages and channels coming at them. So we're big on comprehension, reading. We lead with yes, but we also want to make sure if they're watching or listening to something that they also have a clue what's going on. So I gotta ask, do you want to be average? Do you want your child to be average or exceptional? We ask that question a lot because it doesn't matter if anyone being better than anyone else, but I will say there is a reason why certain people operate to their highest potential in whatever craft they do, be it an artist, be it someone who's an academic. And I always like to use the example of athletes because athletes, and very popular ones, are operating at their highest potential, but it's not because they're just naturally gifted at it. There is some extra stuff going on behind the scenes that we probably don't get to see. We only get to see the result of it. Okay, same thing for French learning. So Michael Jordan, I know he's a popular one, and he has a great quote. He said, I've always believed that if you put in the work, the results will come. That is bang on for how we believe in and know that our French students can really get to. Putting in the work, the results will come. And I'll just say putting in the right work, the results will come. Secondly, Tiger Woods, a famous golfer, right? He said, people don't understand that when I grew up, I was never the most talented. I was never the biggest. I was never the fastest. I certainly was never the strongest. The only thing I had was my work ethic, and that's been what has gotten me this far. So these athletes, guys, I could have put a ton of different other people of the slide allowed, but it was more so about showing that we get out what we put in. And very often we're kind of just filling in the jar and filling in the blanks with experimental methods, but we want you to feel confident and comfortable if your child is in French immersion or in French first language, that they've got to be in an environment that gets that, around people who get that, with the right habits, right? Knowing what bite-sized pieces at a time, okay, and what order for that to come in. And thirdly, the right strategy. So knowing that reading comprehension is one of the more consistent gaps across the board for all of our French learners across Canada, knowing what it takes for them to really get to number one, that reading fluency and comprehension they deserve to have, and number two, have the optimum confidence to thrive in the language. And so I invite you guys, schedule some time to chat with me. Schedule some time to chat with me. I never want you to feel like you've had questions unanswered. We love having conversations with parents from all across Canada, just making sure that you have all the tools you need for your child to be exceptional. Because guess what? They deserve it. Take care, guys. I'll talk to you soon.